Welcome to the 2022 Brady Action Awards. Welcome to the 2022 Brady Action Awards.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brady Action Awards. I'm your host, Joy Reid.
Done just that, and it has saved countless human lives.
No American should have to worry about experiencing gun violence when they're stepping out of their homes.
And we have got to get back to the place where our public safety and the lives of our children are not partisan issues.
It's going to require open discussions, understanding the facts, and embracing common sense solutions.
I know this work seems never ending, but in the name of all of those that we have lost, let us keep up the work.
Now, as we just saw, the Action Awards are about celebrating those who take action, not sides, something of critical importance when we are facing a national health crisis like gun violence. The numbers are stark. We've had more mass shootings than days so far this year. There are more guns than people in America. Over 1 million Americans have been shot in the last decade, and nearly every American will know at least one person impacted by gun violence in their lifetime. It would almost appear hopeless, except for organizations like Brady. For almost 50 years, Brady has been at the forefront of the movement. Always data-driven, they know what needs to be done to end gun violence in our country. They also know that there is no one-size-fits-all solution. You need to understand the nature of gun violence to know that it will require a myriad of approaches. And that's what Brady does best. Tonight, we honor those who work alongside Brady, refusing to accept that daily gun violence will continue to define life in the U.S. Joining us now is one of those stalwart champions, Brady Chairman Kevin Quinn.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Kevin Quinn and the board chair of the Brady Campaign and Brady Center to Prevent Gun Violence, or what we all know as Brady. Throughout our almost 50-year history, Brady has been blessed with talented leadership at the right times. From our founders to our namesakes to today, with Kris Brown at the helm, Brady has been at the forefront of our movement. We've led the most substantive efforts to break through walls of indifference or refute rhetoric not even remotely based on fact, and forge connections necessary with those who feel, as most Americans do, that we deserve better than to live with the fear of being shot. As board chair and a dedicated supporter, I'm proud to work with Brady and honored to be part of this ceremony that recognizes the efforts of some amazing individuals. They all give so much of themselves personally to ensure we end gun violence in America. The gun violence that kills almost 40,000 people a year, rips families apart, and devastates communities. Here to tell us more about Brady and how you can help make this the safer country we all deserve, I give you Brady President Kris Brown.
Thank you for those kind words, Kevin. I'm so proud to be here tonight to honor a group of phenomenal people and share a little more about Brady and what we do. I've been doing this work for a long time, and I've wept and mourned with too many families, offering what comfort I could. But it still grieves me every time someone loses a child, parent, sibling, grandparent, friend, partner, coworker. The litany is endless because the loss goes on. And we're supposed to accept this? Are we really going to keep telling ourselves that a gun lobby painted picture of the Second Amendment is the America we get today? Not on my watch. This dystopian society in which a vocal few on the extreme fringe determine a future for us all cannot prevail. The vast majority of Americans, gun owners and non-gun owners, agree that a few simple steps make us all safer. Expanding the Brady background check system to include internet sales is a start. The only reason it did not do so initially is because the internet didn't exist. We need to ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. Any sportsman will tell you that you don't need an AR-15 to bring down a deer. They were created for one reason: to kill as many people as possible in as short a time as possible, period. We need extreme risk protection orders to temporarily remove weapons from the home and protect those in danger of harming themselves or others. These aren't radical ideas. They are common sense and in no way infringe on anyone's Second Amendment rights. We are in the throes of a public health crisis. We know the causes and we know how to end it. But first, we need to accept it for what it is. It's the leading cause of death for children under 19. The leading cause of death for children under 19. It shortens the lives of white males by 2 years and black males by double that amount. It causes low birth weight in babies who are born in impacted communities because of the stress faced by their mothers in utero. It costs our healthcare system $3.5 billion a year. School children are afraid to go to school, to go to the bathroom during the school day in case they are trapped there when, not if, a shooter enters their school. If that's not a healthcare crisis, I truly don't know what is. But there's hope. In the outcry after the horrific massacre in Buffalo, the state of New York recently passed a package of 10 significant gun violence prevention laws, and Brady made that happen. We worked with Maryland and Illinois to ban ghost guns. And in Washington state, not only did we ban ghost guns, but we also banned high-capacity magazines. In both Washington state and Colorado, we also passed legislation to protect our democracy by prohibiting and restricting guns at polling places. And Brady was working alongside those legislators every step of the way. And in an unprecedented and historic action, just this week, the Senate, through the efforts of a bipartisan group of senators who were responding to the American outcry for change, announced a deal for modest yet meaningful bipartisan legislation that will prevent and address gun violence in this country. We hope that this bipartisan compromise will achieve 60 votes in the Senate and make its way to the president's desk. We hope that this will be a sign that the tide of our gun violence epidemic is turning and that the Brady way of taking action, not sides, will prevail. Tonight, you'll hear how Brady's solutions are unique in the fight against gun violence. Yes, we absolutely need common sense gun laws, but there is so much more that has been and will continue to make an appreciable difference. Brady Legal, our Crime Guns Initiative, and End Family Fire are changing the unacceptable status quo. Our youth arm, Team Enough, is harnessing the outrage of the lockdown generation and empowering the leaders of tomorrow in the movement in the years to come. And we're doing all of this under one roof. Here's where your part comes in. We can do the research because you support us. We test our programs in communities because you support us. We expand that work nationwide because of your support. We reach out to partners in the nonprofit and the business community to expand the work further with your support. We are the clarion call in the media, correcting inaccurate NRA-fueled rhetoric because of you. You are the most important part of this equation. So don't ever feel like it doesn't matter or you're not doing enough. You are. And we need you. And we count on you. This is the perfect time to take a moment to thank our generous sponsors who support our work and made this evening possible. Tim and Sue Gomes, McMath Woods, Kevin and Jane Quinn, Arnold and Porter, Covington, David Bennett Foundation, Anita Danafria, Ricky Teigert-Helfer and Michael Helfer, the Kellogg Collection, Nick Stevens and Lisa Kunstadter, Paul Weiss, and John Tyson. And a heartfelt thank you to Joy Reid, returning as our MC this year. Thank you, Joy. Please enjoy learning about the wonderful people who make our work their work and the programs you make possible. Together, we are indeed a mighty force, and we will make our country safer. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Bradley Whitford, who will introduce the first award in this evening of celebration.
Good evening. I'm Bradley Whitford. For almost 35 years, Brady Legal has protected us in the courts, protected us not only by holding bad actors accountable and representing pro bono those who have suffered unspeakable loss of ability or the life of a loved one. They've also protected us by challenging bad laws, the laws that put us all at risk. With John Lowy at the helm, Brady Legal has led the fight to hold the gun industry accountable for its contribution to gun violence, creating the legal theories that led to the Sandy Hook settlement and many more. Brady has litigated in almost every state, winning more than $60 million in settlements and verdicts for the plaintiffs, reforming major gun dealers, and leading others to be shut down. And Brady Legal masterminded the theory that the Constitution protects the rights of Americans to protect their families and communities from gun violence, a right not to be shot. Any lawyer preparing a case against the gun industry looks to Brady Legal's playbook. John has marshaled not only the tremendously talented Brady Legal team, but has built a legal alliance of hundreds of lawyers and firms who offer their services free of charge, working in conjunction with Brady, so we all might sleep a little safer at night. We've heard the Brady approach of working across Congress, courts, and communities. And indeed, that will be the only way we unclench the grip gun violence has on our country. Here's to those who work in the courts, truly the trenches, and are so ably led by John and Brady Legal. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome John Lowy to present tonight's Legal Action Award winner.
Good evening. Brady could not accomplish what it does in the courts without a number of passionate attorneys working behind the scenes, supporting our every effort. The Brady Legal Action Award is a small token of the incredible esteem in which we hold these defenders of justice, and a rare opportunity to share their generosity and talents with the world. Tonight, we honor a true legal legend, Tom Green. Tom is a lawyer's lawyer, a Washington institution, and a rare combination of a lot of what is good, hopeful, and interesting in this often infuriating world. I don't have time here to list all of Tom's successes, but when you Google him, know that tells only a fraction of his wins. There are luminaries whose problems he has fixed, and you will never know. American history would be very different if Tom wasn't as talented as he is as a lawyer. It is Brady's extraordinary good fortune that gun violence prevention is one of Tom's passions. Since this is a family show, I can't share exactly what Tom has to say about the NRA and the gun lobby, but suffice it to say, he's passionate on the subject. He knows this country could and should be far better, far safer, and far saner when it comes to gun policy. And Tom is, if anything, a man of action. As he said to me many times after we discussed the latest gun lobby outrage, okay, what the hell are we going to do about it? And he backs it up. Tom Green is one of the best friends Brady Legal has ever had, and a great friend of mine personally. Whether he's shuttling back and forth from Switzerland or grand jury probes, Tom has given time and wisdom to me and our legal team to help us in our legal fights. He has a rare ability to go right to the heart of a complex case or cross-examination and come out with a question, a sentence, a theme that crystallizes it simply, memorably, and persuasively. And he's been equally generous with his financial support. As Tom would say, why the hell does the NRA have a bigger budget than Brady? And he steps up to right that wrong, too. Tom is, as my grandparents would say, a real mensch. It's a great privilege to give this year's Brady Legal Action Award to someone who richly deserves it and more, Tom Green. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, John, Kris, and Brady, for this award. It means a great deal to me. And I hope you'll allow me to share it with the many lawyers in this country who are also giving unselfishly of their time and talent to reduce the horrific gun violence we endure over and over again. I had the good fortune to grow up at a time and place when life was peaceful, where no one walked the streets with guns strapped to their body or carried the kind of gun I carried when I was a soldier in Vietnam. And back then it would have been impossible to envision that years later, our safety would be imperiled by the proliferation of guns and mass killings. This struggle to end gun violence, it's difficult, and it's easy to get discouraged, particularly when so many of our fellow citizens and elected leaders are able to rationalize these tragedies with empty platitudes. When it comes to actionable solutions to our gun violence epidemic, Brady really has no equal. It's active on all fronts. It is the only gun safety organization that litigates and pursues those gun manufacturers and dealers who turn a blind eye to the consequences of their worst practices. This is where I make my own small contribution by strategizing and helping John Lowy and his colleagues to further their mission. It is for me very gratifying work. And I urge each of you to find a place where you can make a difference. Nothing will be more satisfying. The opening lines of the Constitution state that our nation was established to form a more perfect union, but also to ensure domestic tranquility and promote the general welfare. It's now 230 years later, and there's little domestic tranquility, and our welfare is threatened every day by gun violence. So now more than ever, it's critical that we support Brady and do whatever we can to secure sensible gun safety provisions. And as wonderful as it is for me to receive this award, I would feel even more gratified if you join me in supporting Brady to raise a voice so loud that no one will refuse to take action. Together, there's nothing we can't accomplish. Thank you.
Congratulations, Tom, and thank you for those inspiring words and your work on behalf of Brady. To introduce our next segment, please join me in welcoming the governor of New Jersey, Phil Murphy.
Thank you so much, Joy, and good evening to everyone watching. It is a tremendous honor to be part of this year's Brady Action Awards and to join in celebrating the accomplishments of this year's honorees, including my dear friend and fellow New Jerseyan, Stephen Colbert. For me and all in New Jersey who believe in ending the epidemic of senseless gun violence, Brady is a special and incredibly important organization. 4 years ago, I made a pledge to turn New Jersey into the nation's leading common sense gun safety state. And thanks in great part to the tremendous and unwavering support from Brady and from the individual support of many of you, we are reaching our goal. I'm so proud of all that we have done together. Closing background check loopholes, banning ghost guns, standing up to the gun lobby's challenges to strong gun safety laws, funding critical gun violence research, and so much more. If you want to see the Brady plan in action, look to New Jersey. But tonight, even as we celebrate those who lead in so many different ways, our hearts are weighed down by the horrific, senseless events across the nation of late that remind us our fight for gun safety in New Jersey and all around the country is far from over. And as we continue our work, we stand firm in the knowledge that action on gun safety will do more than empty platitudes to the grieving, and that we are on the right side of our communities and of history. And though our heads may be bowed, our fortitude is as strong as steel. And now it is my distinct honor to introduce one of the strongest people I know. After his beloved and beautiful 14-year-old daughter, Jamie, was senselessly murdered at Parkland High School, no one would have blamed Fred Guttenberg if he wanted to retreat. But instead, Fred has become one of our nation's most passionate voices for gun safety. He's also become our dear friend, as he has to so many of you. His work is Jamie's legacy, and it is already one in which we all take great pride. So again, I thank everyone at Brady for allowing me to be part of tonight's virtual ceremony. I know we will continue the fight for gun safety that James and Sarah Brady started. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my dear friend, the one and only Fred Guttenberg.
Thank you, Governor Murphy. Truth is, I'm never going to forget the phone call after Jamie was murdered that you made to me. And I'm never going to forget the friendship that I've established with you and your amazing wife, Tammy. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for what that friendship has, I think, meant to both of us. It's typical to start a segment like this saying, I'm happy to be here tonight, but I'm not. The only reason I'm here is because of an incredible loss, and one from which my family will never recover. My beautiful daughter, Jamie, who was murdered at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School on February 14th, 2018, will never live the life she had planned, never fulfill her dreams and hopes, never continue to brighten our days, and all because someone who should never have had access to a gun made a different decision about Jamie's future. Someone made a similar decision recently in Uvalde, Texas. 10-year-old children will never see another birthday. I choose to fight on in Jamie's name and to make sure that I fight on with others equally dedicated to stopping the madness of gun violence that defines the gun culture in our country. The idea that it is somehow acceptable to own a gun and bring it anywhere at any time. Somehow, that right superseded my daughter's right to live and the lives of tens of thousands of others. As Jamie's dad, I refuse for Jamie's death to be meaningless. I refuse to be okay with another Buffalo or Uvalde happening. I choose to live a life of action, as do so many of us here this evening. The Brady Action Awards highlight just those who do that, those who make their life's work, those who fight so that just maybe one day we will no longer even have to have a Brady Action Award ceremony, because right and common sense will have finally prevailed in our country. Our Advocate Action Award this evening goes to just such a fighter, Anita Danafria. As a caring individual with deep roots in her Ridgefield, Connecticut community, Anita had always been concerned about preventing gun violence, a cause to which she rededicated herself after the unthinkable happened at Sandy Hook in December of 2012, a town less than 20 miles away from her home. Anita quickly became an informed gun violence prevention advocate, unhesitatingly making call after call to elected officials, even those outside of her district. And when questioned why she was calling them when they weren't her representatives, she would very quickly tell them exactly why she was calling them. She has been a stalwart supporter of Brady's multi-pronged approach to ending gun violence in our country, and her activism is expansive. She wants to elect officials who will make changes on this issue, but she also wants to change societal norms around guns. That's why she helped to ensure the tragedy of gun violence is represented in new artistic productions she helped launch, like Nickel Mines, a play about the impact of the 2006 school shooting at the West Nickel Mines School, leaving 5 young girls dead and 5 others wounded. In all Anita does, she seeks to help Americans understand the true devastation of gun violence and support organizations like Brady, who help us all see the light at the end of the tunnel, even in times of despair. Anita, thank you for always putting yourself before others. The movement needs more educated advocates like you working towards the day when we say, we did it. What's next? It is my honor to bestow the 2002 Brady Advocate Action Award to Anita Danafria.
Hello, and thank you, Kris Brown, and everyone at Brady for the Advocate Action Award this year. Thank you, Fred, for your kind words, courage, and strength. It is an honor to be recognized by one of the most stalwart and longest fighting gun violence prevention organizations in this country. On May 14th, a heavily armed, self-proclaimed white nationalist walked into a supermarket in Buffalo, New York, and killed 10 Americans and injured 3 more, almost all Black. We were still reeling from that mass shooting when 10 days later, a shooter walked into an elementary school in Uvalde, Texas, armed with military-grade weapons and high-capacity magazines, and brutally massacred 19 little children and 2 dedicated educators. And just a few days after that, there was yet another mass shooting in Tulsa, Oklahoma, this time in a hospital. This is not to dismiss the incredible number of lives lost daily as well. These events are obviously horrific. What's worse is that they have become commonplace in the United States. So much so that gun violence is now the leading cause of death in children in this country. Every one of us here tonight has a moral obligation to act immediately. Speak out, call your legislators, and demand action now. Tell them that if they continue to refuse to take meaningful action, then they will need to get out of the way, and we will replace them with gun control champions. One of the most conservative former Chief Justices of the United States Supreme Court, Warren Burger, said in 1991, and I quote, "The gun lobby's interpretation of the Second Amendment is one of the greatest pieces of fraud. I repeat the word fraud on the American people by special interest groups that I have ever seen in my lifetime," unquote. Get active in your community. In my hometown in Connecticut, our wonderful local nonprofit community theater, Active Connecticut, took a huge risk and staged Nickel Mines, an emotionally sensitively produced musical conceived by Andrew Palermo about the 2006 school shooting in Pennsylvania Amish community. In the midst of the pandemic, the show played to sold-out audiences and spurred vibrant post-show community conversations. The experience shows how hungry communities are for someone, anyone, to do something to stop this epidemic of gun violence, starting conversations and creating connections in your communities is a grassroots activism, and it's vital to this fight. Finally, I encourage everyone joining us here to fuel Brady as they continue to fight for our safer future, and please donate as generously as you can to Brady to be the much needed wind beneath their wings to continue this important work. To wrap up, I feel unworthy of this tremendous honor tonight, but saying that, I feel even more renewed in my responsibilities, in my obligations, and in my duty to continue my work to help stop this insanity. Thank you again to all at Brady and to Kris Brown for your tireless advocacy to help curb the epidemic of gun violence in this country. I am truly humbled and honored, and I promise, as tiring, frustrating, and tough as this work is, I will not stop. Please help us. Please save our children. It is the gun. Thank you.
Please welcome Congressional Champions of Gun Violence Prevention, Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, and Congressman Jamie Raskin.
I will keep fighting for gun violence prevention because America is better than a country where there are far too many weapons of war, which are used not to hunt deer, but used to hunt human beings. We are better than a country where children are gunned down at a schoolhouse in Texas and Black folks are hunted down at a supermarket in Buffalo. We are better than a country where far too many people each and every day die of gun violence. I will keep fighting until America solves this problem.
I keep fighting for gun violence prevention because I'm tired of words. They have no meaning. Only action matters now. And we must do something together to end this crisis. After every tragedy, after every senseless shooting, we see everybody go into their corners. They wring their hands and they say they're praying, but nothing ever happens. Thoughts and prayers don't cut it for me anymore. They don't address the gun violence crisis we have in our country. People should be able to go to school, innocent children, to the grocery store, their house of worship, a movie theater, anywhere they want in their community without the fear of being a victim of a mass shooting. There are very common sense bipartisan measures that we can get done now if we only come together, including expanding universal background checks. This will save lives. We just need the determination to act. Enough is enough.
Hey, everybody, it's Congressman Jamie Raskin from Maryland's beautiful 8th Congressional District. I want to salute all the Brady Action awardees for their magnificent work in fighting for a more civilized and peaceful America. We are now surrounded by carnage all over the country. It's just been a bloodbath with these massacres in Buffalo by an 18-year-old white supremacist jacked up on white replacement theory, and another 18-year-old with an assault weapon in Uvalde, Texas, who massacred 19 school children and 2 teachers. We are trying to move legislation in the middle of this bloodbath taking place all over the country. And we need a universal violent criminal background check. We've got to close the internet loophole and close the private gun show loophole. We got to close the Charleston loophole and pass Whip Clyburn's bill. We need to, at the very least, prevent those under 21 from accessing assault weapons. We need to ban the high-capacity magazines, all of it. And Brady Action has just been on the front lines of mobilizing America to confront the gun manufacturers and the gun lobby, which unfortunately still have a stranglehold over the legislative process because of the filibuster. But we are going to make this happen, and we are going to keep building the power of this movement. So thank you, Brady Action, for being in the forefront. Thank you, awardees, for everything that you do.
Please welcome the head coach of the Golden State Warriors, Steve Kerr.
Hi, I'm Steve Kerr, coach of the Golden State Warriors and the 2021 recipient of Brady's Advocacy Action Award. If you don't know my story, you might wonder why gun violence prevention is so important to me. My father, Malcolm Kerr, was president of the American University of Beirut. He was murdered by extremists in Beirut when I was just 18 and a freshman at the University of Arizona. It was an act that devastated my family. I've been committed to ending gun violence ever since, so that no one has to suffer what my family did, and still do every day. Gun violence, like any other public health crisis, is a complicated issue with many root causes requiring a diverse array of solutions. It must be attacked with an aggressive game plan directed towards one outcome. Brady's Combating Crime Guns initiative is an integral part of Brady's game plan. Were you aware that about 90% of crime guns in the United States come from roughly 5% of America's gun dealers? Brady's Crime Guns initiative is an innovative program focused on the supply side of crime guns. Think about that for a minute. If we take one shooter off the streets, but the flow of guns into the community continues, what have we stopped? One individual. But when we stop the flow of guns at the source, we make an entire community safer. I invite you all to visit bradyunited.org to learn more about this unique and effective approach. It's a strategic defense against a lethal offense, and only Brady has a winning strategy in a game none of us can afford to lose. If you want to reduce gun violence across the country, and especially in our most impacted communities, please know that Brady is the team you want to back.
Thank you, Coach Kerr. How important this issue is for you was so evident when we saw your press conference just after the Uvalde mass shooting. Your passion lifts the movement and strengthens Brady. What also strengthens Brady is its enormous grassroots network. Here to tell us about our next honoree, we are joined by Senator Tammy Duckworth of Illinois.
Hello, everyone. I'm Senator Tammy Duckworth of Illinois, and I'm honored to join you all this evening for the Brady Center's Virtual Action Awards. Tonight, we're honoring so many remarkable individuals who are champions of gun violence prevention. I'm especially proud to honor this year's Grassroots Action Awardee, Delphine Cherry. Delphine, an Illinoisan who hails from Chicago's South Side, has dedicated her life to gun violence prevention after experiencing the tragedy and loss no mom should ever feel. She first lost her daughter, Tawiah, who was struck by a stray bullet. The second time she experienced this horrible violence was with the loss of her son, Tyler, 20 years later. Delphine's work for justice began in 2013 because she wanted to stop others from feeling the pain she feels every day. She turned that pain into activism because no parent, friend, family member, or loved one should experience what Delphine and too many have felt across our country. I'm proud to have folks like Delphine and everyone involved with the Brady Center as partners in this work to help stop preventable gun violence. I've worked hard at the national level to bring much needed resources to programs that help address the root causes of this violence. I helped create a grant program through the Department of Justice, which I'm proud will help support community-based violence intervention programs to help our state and local partners respond to the rise of violent crimes impacting communities across this country. Helping solve the epidemic of gun violence doesn't come from just one approach. From our individual communities all the way to Congress, we all must do our part to make our country safer. That's why we need the work of people like Delphine, the Brady Center, and everyone joining us tonight to work towards that brighter future. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Delphine Cherry. Thank you so much, Senator Duckworth, for the kind words. And thank you, Kris, and all of the Brady family for giving me a platform to channel my loss. I want to make sure no other mother suffers the loss of their children, and yet we see it day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. I've lost 2 of my precious children to senseless gun violence. Tawiah was shot coming out of a movie theater. She was only 16 in 1992 with her friends. Her perpetrator was only 14. He was given a gun by an adult. My daughter died instantly. She was shot in the head. I was pregnant with my son Tyler at the time. 20 years later, my youngest son was brutally murdered in front of my home after getting ready to go to a classmate's birthday party. They are why I do what I do. And I wish they were with me so I wouldn't have to do this. Gun violence is a public issue. We know it is. It is now the leading cause of death among our children. More children die from gun violence than they do car accidents in the U.S. How is this possible? That's certainly not the statistics our country can be proud of. Grassroots are the catalysts of the movement, because while the top might grow tall and strong, they couldn't do it without the firm hold and nourishment of the roots. We mobilize, we mass, we get people fired up and fed up. We make things happen from the pain of our experience and the passion to say it stops here. We are stronger together than we can ever be by acting on our own. People like me and Fred and Coach Kerr and all those who have lost a loved one will forge on. But we need you with us. I accept this award praying that no other mother will ever have to receive another one. We will stop gun violence. We have to. Thank you so much.
Please welcome the National Chapter Coordinator of Team Enough, Stephen Abrams, and National Administrator and Spokesperson of Team Enough, Alea Eastman.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Alea Eastman.
And I'm Stephen Abrams, and together we represent Team Enough.
Founded in the wake of the tragedy at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School on February 14th, Team Enough harnesses the power and passion of our generation, the generation that will end gun violence. For those that do not know me personally or my story, I was in the 3rd classroom attacked as I watched my fellow classmates shield themselves from bullets, and I pretended that I too was dead, sheltered underneath the body of a murdered classmate. It is the only reason I am here today.
And while I am fortunate enough not to share a trauma like Alea, my life and the life of so many others my age has been permanently impacted by gun violence. It is now the leading cause of death in our country in youth under the age of 24. Additionally, more than 40 youth lose at least one parent every day due to firearm homicide. And in DC alone, over the past 12 months, more than 42 children were shot as innocent bystanders. Gun violence in America is a public health crisis of enormous magnitude with no end in sight.
Team Enough is also dedicated to ensuring the conversation and solutions include communities of color that suffer from this issue disproportionately. Many families live in what amounts to war zones, impacting their health, growth, learning, and life expectancy. The average life expectancy of a Black man is 4 years less than white male counterparts. That is unacceptable.
And suicide is skyrocketing among Black youth as well. Over the past decade, the rate of firearm suicide among Black youth increased by more than 110%. Something has to change. Behind every statistic Alea and I just shared, a person, a family, a community. Bottom line, where you live and the color of your skin should not determine if you live. And that's where Team Enough comes in.
In addition to mobilizing the youth of our country to raise their united voices, we are training the next generation of gun violence prevention lobbyists and activists. The Team Enough lobby collectives based in several states across the nation teach America's youth how to engage their legislators in authentic conversations.
For too long, access to those making the laws has rested in the hands of too few. Our lobbying collectives train students how to effectively use their voices and affect the change so desperately needed in our communities.
Your support of Brady tonight and throughout the year helps initiatives like Team Enough. Together we will be a force so fierce and so loud that no one can continue to offer thoughts and prayers, when all we really need is action. We can do and will do our part. Please do yours.
Good night and thank you.
Thank you.
Please welcome more congressional champions of gun violence prevention. Congressman Congressman Jason Crow, Congresswoman Lucy McBath, and Congresswoman Mary Gay Scanlon.
Hi, this is Jason Crow from Colorado. I continue to fight for gun violence prevention because I represent a district that's been impacted over and over again by shootings. I'm a father, I'm a combat veteran, I'm somebody that understands that we have obligations to one another as members of a society. Those obligations mean we keep each other safe, and we're failing to do that. So I'm going to continue to fight to prevent gun violence throughout America and in my district, and I'm proud to partner with you.
Hi, this is Congresswoman Lucy McBath. I keep fighting for gun violence prevention because I know firsthand what senseless gun violence can do to a family. I lost my son Jordan before he even graduated from high school. And in the face of that tragedy, I made a promise that I would take the love that I have for my son and use it for my community, because there is nothing more powerful than a mom on a mission. I fight for gun violence prevention so that parents across this country don't have to ever experience the pain of losing a child. I fight for gun violence prevention to save lives.
Hi, I'm Mary Gay Scanlon, Congresswoman from Pennsylvania, and I won't stop fighting for gun violence prevention because too many families in my community and communities across the nation have been devastated and traumatized by this preventable epidemic. Americans overwhelmingly agree that we need to take action to reduce gun violence, make our communities safer, and save lives. I won't stop fighting for common sense and urgent action to end this scourge upon our nation.
Thank you, Alea and Stephan. Our youth are our country's future. And as Team Enough firmly believes, they are the generation that will end gun violence. They are the ones searching for a brighter future. And now, giving us a glimpse of what that brighter future could be, please welcome vocalist and recording artist Wendy Moton.
Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I've heard of once in a lullaby. Someday I'll wish upon the star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, so far, where troubles smell like lemon drops, way upon the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. If birds fly over the rainbow, then why? Oh, why can't if birds fly over the rainbow, why can't I? I got to get over. I got to get
Please welcome Congresswoman Maxine Waters.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so honored to join Brady and its supporters tonight. I remember Jim and Sarah with great fondness and a thorough admiration for their accomplishments. It's fitting that these are called the Brady Action Awards because that is what they both embodied, action, not finger pointing. Of the many honors and distinctions I've been called upon to present, I'm most drawn to those that honor a person's body of work, as opposed to calling notice to single actions. They showcase not just a special moment in someone's career, but rather a wholehearted dedication to a greater purpose or ideal. It is my extreme privilege this year to present Brady's Lifetime Achievement Action Award to my colleague from California and my very good friend, Representative Jackie Speier. Jackie and I have worked together through the years, most of our lifetimes, to pass common sense gun laws and minimize the lethality of gun violence in our country. To think that we almost lost this remarkable woman 48 years ago when she fearlessly traveled to save people from the cult of Jonestown and was shot 5 times at point-blank range. Well, then her accomplishments become even more incredible. Her lifetime after that event was a gift and one that she has made the most of. In her more than 40 years in office, Jackie has offered legislation ranging from establishing grant programs to developing gun safety technology to improving our national instant criminal background check system, to establishing standards for handguns to be child resistant, to allowing victims to use trace data to hold the gun industry accountable, and ensuring the FBI has adequate resources and data to detect gun traffickers. She helped lead the Congressional sit-in after the Pulse nightclub shooting and has been an indispensable voice in passing universal background checks and fixing the Charleston loophole in the House of Representatives twice. A truly impressive body of work. She has seized the time given her and made it her life's mission that no one should enter the club of survivors to which she was initiated on that fateful day in Guyana. She is a fearless survivor and one I'm proud to have worked alongside for so many years. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I give you my very good friend, Representative Jackie Speier, Brady's 2022 Lifetime Achievement Action Award winner. Congratulations, Jackie. Jim and Sarah would be so proud. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you to Congresswoman Maxine Waters for those kind words and presenting me with the Lifetime Action Award. It means so much to be introduced by such an esteemed colleague and good friend. We really have worked together most of our lifetimes, and few can hold a candle to Maxine when it comes to her fierce drive, dedication, and determination in fighting for gun violence reform. Special thanks to the phenomenal board and hardworking staff of the Brady Center and your incredible president, Kris Brown. You are the standard bearers in the movement to address gun violence. To be honored by you is truly a highlight of my 40 years in elected office. And congratulations to the other awardees, Thomas Green, Anita Danofrio, Delphine Cherry, and the inimitable Stephen Colbert. Being in your company is also humbling and inspiring. We all agree that gun violence is one of the most pressing public health crises of our time. Within the span of 10 days, our country has been rocked by a series of mass shootings. From the incomprehensible slaughter of 19 fourth graders and 2 teachers at Uvalde, Texas, to the horrific hate crime killings in Buffalo, New York, that took the lives of 10 innocent souls. The 18-year-old gunman that went on the rampage at Robb Elementary didn't leave behind any written clues to explain his motive. But we've learned he demonstrated the kind of toxic masculinity we've seen over and over again with young male mass shooters. The Buffalo gunman, also a mere 18 years old, left behind a 180-page manifesto espousing racist beliefs and right-wing conspiracy theories, showing a clear hate crime motive we've seen before in El Paso and Charleston. As a survivor of gun violence, receiving this award is incredibly meaningful because I've experienced firsthand the immense and lifelong emotional and physical toll of gun violence. But it impacts more than just survivors. Families and loved ones of those killed and injured, entire communities experience profound trauma. In hearings last week in Congress, the heart-wrenching accounts by survivors and family members who lost loved ones was profound. Lexi's mom recounted leaving her straight-A daughter after the end of a school awards ceremony, promising to take her for ice cream after school. That never happened. An hour later, Lexi was gunned down. Her mom's plea was to all the other mothers and fathers in this country to do something before it happens to them too. The impetus is on all of us, but especially Congress, to take action so that we see solutions making headlines, not just more pain and death. During my tenure in the California State Assembly, I managed the legislation banning assault weapons in California on the Assembly floor. I'll never forget one of my Republican colleagues asking me during the debate if I had ever fired an automatic weapon. I was stunned, but not too stunned to reply, "No, I have not. But have you ever been shot by an automatic weapon?" I have. California now has some of the strongest gun safety laws in the country, but we need federal action to close gaping holes in our existing laws. The good news is we have solutions. The bipartisan Brady bill is proof. 300,000 people each year do not pass background checks when attempting to buy guns because of the Brady law. As vice chair of the Gun Violence Prevention Task Force, I've introduced and co-sponsored legislation to close loopholes in our background check system, require reporting of lost and stolen guns, modernize the definition of armor-piercing ammunition, promote gun safety technology, and incorporate common-sense child safety protections for handguns. Last week, I voted with my Democratic colleagues and some Republicans to pass the Protecting Our Kids Act to raise the minimum age for purchasing weapons to 21, ban high-capacity magazines and bump stocks, build on our regulations on ghost guns, and ban straw purchases while cracking down on illegal trafficking of guns. Now we need the Senate to join us and act like the over 1,800 children killed every year and the more than 3 million children traumatized by gun violence every year to make sure they matter. Please know that I accept this award knowing my work isn't done. I won't rest until we have addressed the systemic impacts of gun violence. I will continue to stand with you. What is happening in our country is not normal. No other country in the world accepts carnage in their communities like we endure. We must and will prevail. And know this, we can and will win this fight by working together.
My name is Charles Taway.
I'm Tommy Anderson.
My name is Siobhan DeBar.
I have a sense of pride that I was given the opportunity to serve in the United States military.
I assist veterans today on a daily basis, bringing them back into society, finding jobs, and just feeling welcome again.
Aviation was my soul, and artillery became my heart.
I've had friends of mine veterans who have died from gun suicide, and it's preventable.
I think it is paramount that if you own a gun, you should store it safely. I'm a true believer in service never stops.
Locking up your firearm and your weapon as a veteran is the sensible thing to do.
The number one thing we do is safety. We stress safety all the time, and it's something that's ingrained in us from the military.
Safely store your weapon, protect yourself and those around you. My service never stops.
Our service never stops.
And for me, part of that service is storing your guns safely.
Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide.
Please welcome U.S. Navy veteran Charles Taway.
Hi, everyone. I'm Charles Taway, United States Navy veteran. I was proud to recently take part in Brady's Safe Storage campaign, End Family Fire. Every day, on average, 65 Americans lose their lives to gun suicide. Almost 20% of those are veterans. Family fire is a shooting involving an improperly stored or misused gun in the home that results in death or injury. Launched in August of 2018, Brady and the Ad Council have worked together to raise awareness of the importance of safe gun storage in our country. Initially focusing on the 8 unintentional shootings of children that occur every day in America, End Family Fire expanded to focus on deaths by gun suicide, followed by messaging specifically for ending gun suicide among us veterans. This campaign saves lives, and that's really important when so many other solutions to prevent gun violence only end up being debated. Some things aren't up for debate, they require action. Some things like including gun owners in the conversation and solutions play an important part in making us all safer. Your support makes End Family Fire possible. Without you, Brady and the Ad Council couldn't do the research needed to drive the messaging that changes how we think about safe gun storage. As I say in the campaign, safe storage protects you and those around you. That's a message we can all live with. And I hope you continue to make that kind of messaging possible. Thank you. Together, we will end family fire and save almost 40,000 lives every year. That's pretty incredible.
Welcome, Tim Gomes.
Good evening. My name is Tim Gomes, and I am proud to sponsor this portion of the Brady Action Awards ceremony and honored to introduce a true American hero, Bryan Cranston. The Brady Ambassador Action Award honors those who support Brady and the gun violence prevention movement in their professional and personal capacities. As the recipient himself of this award in 2021, Bryan is a stalwart supporter of gun violence prevention, raising funds and awareness for Brady and their mission. Bryan, you are indeed the epitome of a gun violence prevention champion, and I am so happy that you are on our side. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Bryan Cranston, who will be presenting the 2022 Ambassador Action Award.
Hello, everyone. I'm on a lunch break from shooting a biography, Grizzly Adams, The College Years, but I'm very happy to join you tonight for this presentation. It's been my privilege in the past to both present this next award and to be a recipient. Those with a public platform can do a great deal of good toward uniting Americans to end gun violence in this country. And I'm especially proud to bestow the 2022 Brady Ambassador Action Award to a very worthy person this evening, a man of letters, specifically the letters S and C. Tonight's recipient is a man who has used his platform and his voice to engage his audience and followers in the sad irony, the idiocy of America's gun violence epidemic. More people in this country support expanded background checks than eat pizza. And if you've ever had a slice of background check pepperoni, you know what I mean. It's delicious. There are more gun dealers than McDonald's and Starbucks combined. So what's next? Drive-through? There is less oversight over gun dealers than our casual eateries. It's just insane. You can buy a kit online to assemble an untraceable ghost gun as easily as you can buy a pair of shoes. Seriously, that horrific truth is low-hanging fruit for a gifted satirist like our guest of honor. But he would gladly trade in a good joke for a safer country any day. And let me just make sure I'm accurate. Yes, okay, it's been confirmed. I've known and admired our Brady Ambassador Action awardee, Stephen Colbert, for many years. And I've always been impressed by not only his passion for social issues like gun violence prevention, but his willingness to do something about it. Stephen's comments on the gun violence that almost continues to interrupt the news cycle sums up the frustration that we all feel about our inability to go about our lives without the fear of being shot. Stephen says what we all want to say or wish we could say if we too had the platform to do so. Every night on his show, he walks a tightrope of promoting positive social change while also maintaining his responsibility to be hilariously entertaining. That's something even the great Wallenda couldn't do because, even though he had good balance, he just wasn't funny. Stephen's voice represents every compassionate, thinking person in our country and is a voice of reason calling out for change. Stephen, I was reminded what I said on your show 9 years ago, that all bad things must come to an end. And then I was just referring to a TV show. This time, please, may the same be said about gun violence in our country. It must come to an end. And I long to one day celebrate that together with all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, your 2022 Brady Ambassador Action Awardee, the inimitable Stephen Colbert.
Bryan, thank you for that kind introduction. Next time you're on my show, I will be way nicer than I was planning to be. And thank you, Brady. I am deeply honored to accept the Brady Ambassador Action Award. As an ambassador, I cannot wait to double park with impunity around New York City. On The Late Show, I have the privilege every night of being part of the national conversation. Some nights, that's a hard thing to do when the headlines are about a foreign war, a domestic insurrection, or involve having to explain what NFTs are. By the way, if you don't know what NFTs are, I'd love to sell you some as quickly as possible. Of course, some of the most common and most difficult conversations are about America's tragic epidemic of gun violence. But you have to talk about it. We're not even halfway through 2022, and there have already been over 200 mass shootings in America. Talk is the least we can do, which is why Brady's work is so important. They're taking action to curb gun violence in achievable, common sense ways by emphasizing education, litigation, and legislation. And by recognizing that gun violence affects everyone in our country and does outsized damage within Black and brown communities. So as American citizens, it's our job to take action too. Call your representatives, hold them accountable for making the difficult decisions required to end gun violence. Let them know you're watching what they do. Also, let them know you're watching my show. Maybe they'll come on as a guest, and if they're not sure if they want to come on, tell them there's a pretty solid cheese tray in the green room. So thank you, Brady, once again for making me your Ambassador Action Awardee. I'm so grateful for everything that you do and for the action that you continue to call for. Thank you, and good night.
Congratulations, Stephen, and well-deserved. Well, thank you all for joining us this evening at the Brady Action Awards. As you've seen, your support fills a well of hope. The hope that by working together, we can and will end gun violence in our lifetime. Before we leave, please remember to text GIVE to 877-877 now. It's our best chance for the safer, brighter tomorrow we all deserve. Good night.
Thank you for joining us for the 2022 Brady Action Awards.